What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus package update, the stimulus check update, and daily news, everything going on here in our country, in Washington, D.C., and everything you need to know about on a daily basis. If you're new to our YouTube channel and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on new videos. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. You guys are absolutely amazing. Also, our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody dealing with the winter storm on the East Coast that has left over 100,000 people without power. Yeah, as you can see here, this nor'easter has left over 100,000 people without power on the East Coast. More than 100,000 people in Massachusetts alone are without power on Saturday morning, according to poweroutage.us. More than 20 inches of snow is predicted for some of the states alone. Virginia, New Jersey, New York, Maryland, and Delaware have all issued state of emergencies due to the storm as more power outages are expected. And more than 4,000 flights have been canceled as the storm is expected to last into Sunday. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said, quote, "Out of an abundance of caution, I am declaring a state of emergency today as this storm is poised to create dangerous travel conditions, heavy snowfall rates, and sustained winds over 50 miles an hour tonight into Saturday. My team and I are laser focused on the forecast, and we've been deploying emergency response assets ahead of the storm to assist with response efforts into the downstate areas." Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, a Republican, said high winds combined with the snow are expected to create whiteout conditions for travel, potentially knocking down trees, and could create tidal flooding. The storm is expected to impact more than 70 million people on the East Coast, with blizzard condition forecasted for more than 4 million people. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts. Are you dealing with this? Have you been out of power? Are you watching this on your cell phone? Let me know your thoughts. How has it been for you? How much snow have you gotten? You combine this with the extreme cold that many areas have gotten, negative temperatures. It has been pretty bad here recently. I know in some parts of the country, winter started off not so bad, but now into the new year, 2022 has brought winter to a different level. I know 2022 has started off pretty extreme with this Omicron variant. Now this new Omicron variant, who knows what's going to happen with that? Yeah, I know. And it just seems like 2022 has just started off. I think extreme is the appropriate word here for for 2022. Yeah. Here is a new update on the Build Back Better stimulus package, also with Democratic Senator Susan Wild from Pennsylvania. Check this out.
So news this week has been understandably dominated by Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer's retirement and who President Joe Biden will nominate. We're going to talk more about that later on in the show, but it can be easy to forget that just a few days ago, the number one item on Biden's legislative to-do list was passing the Build Back Better plan. Remember, that's the so-called human infrastructure and social spending plan. It offers things like universal pre-K and child care subsidies. It extends the child tax credit. It invests in clean energy, and it actually aims to reduce prescription drug prices. Now, that bill, no surprise, has stalled in the Senate because no Republicans want to support it, and Democrats don't want to reform the filibuster. And White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, though, told my colleague Mehdi Hassan last night that she's confident there's a version of the BBB what will get 50 Democrats Senate votes.
We still feel that there is a path forward for all of these initiatives. Let me start with Build Back Better. We know we need 50 votes. Obviously, we only have 50 votes. Every single senator has to support an agenda, but there is agreement on some key components. lowering the cost of childcare, negotiating prescription drug prices, elder care. That's good. We'll see what 50 senators can come to agreement on.
But it was just a few weeks ago that one Democrat, I'm looking at you, Joe Manchin, essentially torpedoed the bill, saying he could not vote for it in its current form. Manchin now says that he actually wants to chop up BBB and could, in fact, see himself passing some of the bill's climate measures. Really? That Joe Manchin? West Virginia Joe Manchin? But more progressive Democrats are reluctant to lose Build Back Better's popular social programs. Meanwhile, some Republicans seem to be living in a totally, and I mean totally different reality here. On Tuesday, Senator Ron Johnson basically shot down the idea of helping make family life and child care in this country more affordable.
People decide to have families and become parents. That's something they need to consider when they make that choice. I've never really felt it was society's responsibility to take care of other people's children.
So this from the staunchly pro-life senator from the allegedly pro-family party. So with both Republicans and some Democrats standing in the way and the president's approval tanking, what does a passable Build Back Better plan look like? Here to discuss it, Pennsylvania Congresswoman Susan Wild. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us this evening. So progressives, as you know, say that passing Build Back Better as one large bill will make it more transformative. But you're among the Democrats who actually say it should be broken up into smaller bills. Explain why for us.
Because we've got to get it done. And what we have learned is that Senator Manchin is unyielding on the big package. So we need to break it down, not necessarily don't do it on through reconciliation. We might still do it as a reconciliation package, but we've got to make sure that we are working on the provisions that we can get through the Senate. And Senator Manchin, to his credit, has been very, very transparent about what he will, at least recently has been very transparent about what he will go for. So let's work on those issues. Let's get a solid timeline in place, and let's make sure that we can get what we can get done.
So help me understand, which of the provisions do you believe have the best chance of passing as standalone bills?
So the things that I think have the best chance are those things that have broad spread bipartisan support. And I don't mean among senators and members of Congress. I'm talking about the electorate. But most specifically, you mentioned prescription drug prices. So I am in a deeply purple district. I hear about prescription drug prices from everybody. And so that's something that I think we absolutely need to get through. And I think that we can. Senator Manchin has indicated some acceptance of that. The climate issue, I was actually very pleasantly surprised to hear from Senator Manchin on that. I think particularly he's talking about renewable energy and the jobs that go with that, which I think would benefit his state very much. And then childcare. And, I heard the clip that you just played about Senator Johnson. May I suggest that he is completely out of touch with reality? And I don't just mean with American families, but he also is out of touch with our employers, who, by the way, need a whole lot of people to come back to work.
By the way, I'll pause for a second there. Ron Johnson, the senator from Wisconsin, who is coming under a lot of fire here for not wanting to basically provide support for anybody at this point. He blocked stimulus checks twice here previously, even when there was Republican support. His net worth, and this shows why he's getting a lot of criticism for being out of touch. This is his net worth here. And I'll zoom this in here so you can see it here. Does that look like a lot of numbers there? Yeah, that is a lot of numbers. And this is his net worth, estimated net worth as of 2018. If you can see that, that's a lot of numbers. The number is 392333507. Yeah, that's $39 million is his net worth as of 2018. That was his estimated net worth. So that was 4 years ago. So who knows what his net worth is now. So if he seems a little bit out of touch with the average everyday person, maybe needing to afford childcare, maybe needing a stimulus check, maybe needing to afford food, maybe needed to afford a rent over their head, and maybe is the reason why He twice blocked stimulus checks for the people. Again, he's a Republican senator from Wisconsin. He's up for reelection again this November. His quote here says, "I'm not heartless. I want to help people. I voted to help people." It doesn't really seem like he wants to actually help people, though. Remember that his net worth in 2018 was estimated at $39 million. So if it seems like he's out of touch a little bit with actually helping people, that could be one of the reasons why. Now, you can let me know your thoughts, but he voted twice to block stimulus checks to the people. And now he's saying he wants to block aid to children as well. So, again, you could let me know your thoughts if you think differently.
A lot of people come back to work. And we also have a declining birth rate, which is going to hit this country very, very soon in terms of both higher education and filling these jobs. And the only way that we can encourage people to continue to grow their families, the only way we are going to be able to get a lot of people back to work as our employers need, is by helping them with childcare. Childcare costs as much as most people's housing these days. And let's not forget that housing is incredibly expensive. So I think those are some of the areas that we can really work with Senator Manchin on. I think that we should not continue to push those things that he has been very vocal about not being supportive of. And one of those, quite frankly, I differ with a lot of the people in my caucus on this who want to continue to push on child tax credit, which I know is an incredibly important thing. It benefited 135,000 children in my district. But Senator Manchin, as I understand it, has pretty unequivocally said he's a no on the child tax credit. And as I've said many times, this is not the first time I've said it, I'm just not a believer in knocking our heads against the wall and trying to change something that is unchangeable.
So let me, if I can, go back for a moment, Congresswoman, to the issue of reconciliation, because you just brought it up. And typically reconciliation, as I understand it, can be used once per year. So there's actually a limited ability to pass a bill with no GOP support. So taking that into consideration here for a moment, do you realistically think that it would even be possible to pass multiple separate bills in a 50-50 Senate? Take aside what you want to put in reconciliation, which you can get done with just 50 votes. The other items that you're talking about, that you say you believe have bipartisan support among voters, not necessarily among members of Congress, you're dealing with an obstructionist Republican Party in Congress. And I understand you have to be optimistic on trying to get things done and you have to fight for it. But you and I can safely say you are not going to get 60 senators, or excuse me, 10 senators among the 50 Democrats to pass some of these standalone items that you want. Not because they may not disagree with them, but because they're an obstructionist party that doesn't want to get anything done.
You're absolutely right. And that's why I said that we have got to first work towards doing a smaller version of Build Back Better through reconciliation. I do think that there are some issues that I would defy my Republican colleagues in the Senate to vote against. And one of those is absolutely prescription drug prices. I know that they don't want to give Democrats anything that is perceived as a win in an election year. But you know, in 2018, what we saw was a blue wave that was born largely of people's fear about the Affordable Care Act being taken away by Republicans. They were afraid that pre-existing conditions were no longer going to be covered. And so I'd like to see the GOP, well, I don't want to see the GOP vote against prescription drug laws because I think it's what the American people really need. And politically, right, I think it would be a disaster for them.
Let me ask you really quickly about Pennsylvania, because unfortunately today we saw the news of the bridge collapsing. I believe 10 people were injured, unfortunately, and it just happened before President Biden was scheduled to give a talk on infrastructure in Pittsburgh. What are you hoping that your state gains from Biden's infrastructure plan, which passed last year? Have you started to see any projects planned around it? How do you want to see that money being spent in your state?
There are a lot of projects already being planned in my district, which is Pennsylvania 7. I have been out and about talking to the people who are responsible for our roads and bridges and drainage systems and that kind of thing. They are ready to get going. They've been ready for a long time. And frankly, this bridge collapse in Pittsburgh, which was incredibly unfortunate, and I hope that the no fatalities continues to be the case. it's just, it's an example of why we needed to do an infrastructure package a long time ago. This is, people keep talking about things that they claim haven't gotten done by this administration. But we got a major infrastructure bill through on a bipartisan basis that is going to be a game changer for a state like Pennsylvania that gets a C- from the American Society of Civil Engineers. And let me tell you, I don't have to convince anybody in my district that we need a lot of road and bridge work. They deal with it every single day. So, and then of course there's the broadband aspect. I have a number of very rural parts of my district that don't have great internet reception. I've got urban areas that really struggled when kids went online learning. And yet that aspect cannot be overlooked. The internet is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most important things for the success of our economy going forward. So you're absolutely right. Not only economy, but also for the education of our children, as we saw during the pandemic. Congresswoman Susan Wild, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate your time this evening.
Yeah, so let me know your thoughts. And I want to show you guys this in today's episode of You Can't Make This Stuff Up. It's so cold this weekend that in southern Florida, there's a possibility of a falling iguanas. That's right. It's so cold that they slow down or become immobile when it's below 40 degrees. And they may fall from trees, but don't worry, they're not dead. They're just maybe frozen. So if you're in southern Florida, don't forget to look up this weekend because there just might be possible falling iguanas. And the only danger is that they just might hurt a little bit if they hit you because, yeah, they could actually fall from the trees this weekend and be just a little bit frozen. Yeah, and apparently this is actually a real thing. You can't make this stuff up. So if you're actually from that area, let me know if you've ever seen this or ever heard of this or ever come across this because apparently this is a real thing. And yeah, I thought this was appropriate for You Can't Make This Stuff Up here in our special segment here. Yeah, it's just been 2022 is living up to its kind of a successor part of the 2020 2021 era. It's almost like how long is this going to go on? 2020, 2021, now 2022. Can't make this stuff up, right? Yeah, it's just thanks for being a part of our community, a part of our extended family. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. If you haven't subscribed to our channel here, our extended family, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. Join our family of subscribers. We're almost at 400,000. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's completely free to subscribe. This way you won't miss out on new videos that come out here every day. You can click this top video here to watch my newest video next. This bottom video is new stimulus checks that were just announced for millions of people. That's a really good video there. And new bonus SNAP EBT and pandemic EBT going out to millions of people as well. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.